Good morning, a very good morning, and a hearty welcome to theodicy class. Well, we have already finished the general introduction and then 3 more main points. Yes, you will see that. And now we are on the 4th point, namely approaches to God. So, we also defined many very good important categories. We preferred absence, presence rather than existence, non-existence, and also we analyzed a very important notion, godlessness and atheism, and then types of godlessness and atheism. Yes, please, those are very important ideas in the sense while dealing with God and God notion, we need also to know certain other elements related. So one is godlessness and the other one is atheism, and we defined both, and finally we related it to belief in God, and we said, well, all are traveling more or less in the same boat. The believer as well as the non-believer is having difficulties. Believer is trying to prove through his life that God exists, and then others, and all that is, you have seen it. And then we entered into another section called types of godlessness and atheism. Various types. And the first one was, scientific godlessness and atheism. Science, how science is related, and science and atheism related, and how they oppose God notion or belief, and what is the official position of science. Science takes atheism as a point of departure, and all that is explained. After having broadly presented various aspects related to God notions or belief in God, now we are going to take up the 4th point is approaches to God. Approaches to God means, what are the arguments that we put forward to speak about God. So that is what is called approaches. Approaches to God. Various approaches. We are going to sum up from the history of Western philosophy, not Eastern philosophy. Well, you have parallel thoughts running. So approaches to. So the first point will be, 1 proofs for God's existence. God's existence. So in other words, when we go into the history of Western philosophy regarding approaches to God, well, we find various proofs proposed by different philosophers for God's existence. Means approaches to God. And therefore, that is one. And then in that, well, there are various, at least 3 types of proofs. Clear? 3 types of proofs. Philosophers should be very careful. Approaches to God, proofs, and then the first one, that is a priori proofs. The second will be simultaneo. Third one, a posteriori. a posteriori proofs. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is what we are going to see today. In other words, approaches to God. Approaches, how to talk about God, a meaningful God talk. Well, there are various proofs to speak about God's existence. And the proofs are of three types. One, a priori. Second one, proof a simultaneo. Third, a posteriori. Now, a posteriori proofs are 5. That we will slowly go through. Well, we don't have to go slowly because you have studied those 5 proofs in the medieval philosophy itself. Proofs by St. Thomas. So, before ever we come to that, well, we will be going through these aspects. Now, approaches. In other words, well, various approaches are there. We need to talk meaningfully about. Yes, we believe in God. Therefore, what do we believe? How do we believe? What are the proofs and all that is? Clear approaches to God. So, proofs for God's existence. A priori proofs means, yes, careful. A priori, a posteriori. Yeah, the present idea is, I don't have to explain because I myself taught you in the end of your 4th semester. Now you are in the 5th semester. Please brush up what we have seen. A priori, a posteriori terminologies are coming from Immanuel Kant. And a priori means prior to. A posteriori means, yes, post is later. So in other words, prior to, later. In other words, prior to proofs means proofs that are a priori. One, last one is a posteriori means from experience we formulate theories. They are 5. Now, a simultaneo means by the fact you talk about one, you talk about. Now, it's called, when we talk about this hand, the moment you talk about, oh, the inside of this hand is beautiful, a simultaneo, a kind of flip side, the other side is this. And now, when we come to a simultaneo, well, there is a mental order and a spiritual order, or a mental order, or an experiential order, or existential order. Well, to give a little more insight into, in empiricism we said, experience is the source of knowledge. Experience is twofold, namely internal and external. External means, well, experience through the 5 senses. What you receive through the 5 senses are taken in, and thus idea is formed. Now, this is a mental order. This is an experiential order. So, a simultaneo, when we talk about, yes, there is an experience, a little abstract form of thinking. Well, when we say today is a sunny day, yeah, you have an experiential level. At the same time, you have already the idea of a sunny day is in your mind. So, in other words, proofs a simultaneo means a kind of order. Best proof is St. Anselm's idea of a perfect being. Yes, it's the mental order. And then he says, that being exists. This is called existential level. So that is what is called, proof is called asimultaneous. It's only a kind of an argument. And the last one is a posteriori. From experience we present proofs. That is called post, later. Prior means before. So posteriori, experience-based proofs, they are 5 mostly. This is Thomistic position. We will take it up. And then we go into other types of approaches. So, the first point, proofs for God's existence. By proofs, we already indicated the methodology. The methodology methodology for verification. Yes, it's a kind of methodology for verification. Yes. Well, you have the theory. Water gets evaporated at 100 degree. It's a theory. And now, a methodology for verification, what is that? You take water and you start boiling it. So the same way, when you are talking about God, well, we need to talk about proofs for God's existence. Now, by proofs, what do you mean? A methodology of verification. Now, you take the attendance, the student is present. Now, what is the methodology of verification that a student is present in the class? Well, you have the attendance. Then, another verification. Well, his own companions are sitting on the left and right side. Tells, well, so-and-so was sitting on my right side. So-and-so was, other man will say, so-and-so was sitting on my left side. Yes, yes. If the person is supposed to sit here, I say, well, he was present on my right side. And the person sitting on the other side will say, yes, he was sitting on my left side. So that is a methodology of verification. So proofs means methodology of verification. When we come to the proofs for God's existence, the underlying presupposition is that man can know God by his reason. Man can know God through his reason. So, in other words, methodology of verification is that yes, man can know God through his reason. In other words, with the help of his reason, man is capable of proving that God exists. Okay, that sentence you need to remember. When we come to the proofs of God's existence, in the underlying presupposition is that man can know God by his reason. Man, with his reason, is capable of knowing God. In inverted comma, a sentence, God can be known with certitude by human reason and created things. Yes, with the help of human reason as well as of the created things that you find in and around us, that we are capable of, yes, proving a methodology for verification possible. Secondly, we also say that God's existence can be demonstrated through the creation. So, in other words, human reason. So, with the help of human reason, we are able to present proofs, and with the help of creation, all that is in and around, we can give proofs for God's existence. So that is what is the general introduction. And we enter into 4-1-1. So in other words, with the help of human reason and with the help of creation, created things, well, we are able to give proofs for God's existence. Therefore, well, we go into various types. Three are there. One, a priori proofs. Second one, a simultaneo. Third, a posteriori. Therefore, we enter into the first one. 3, 1, 1. Verification. Various kinds of, yes, yes, we can also put here, or 1, 1, this is becomes 1, 1, yes, one more 1 will come. So, various kinds of proofs, okay, various kinds of proofs. So, in other words, with the help of human reason and with the help of created things in and around, we are capable of giving proofs for God's existence. Therefore, we are saying what are the kinds of proofs for God's existence. And then 3, 4, 1, 1, 1, the a priori proofs. A priori proofs. Now, what do you mean by a priori proofs? A priori proofs proceed from cause to effect. A priori proofs proceeds from cause to effect. A priori proofs proceeds from cause to effect. So, a priori proofs proceeds from cause to effect. Mind you, be careful, a priori proofs proceeds from cause to effect. In other words, if something is existing, well, that has a cause for its existence. Therefore, a priori proofs, we move from the cause to effect. Now you just look at, regarding God, what is the cause of God for His existence? Can you find such a proof? Well, you cannot go behind. You can see all created things, all in and around, and you can ask, where does it come from? Or various a posteriori proofs. Well, we can, but you cannot go back to, I am putting it bluntly, we cannot go back to God and prove His existence. Therefore, a priori proofs proceed from the cause to effect. They attempt to prove the existence of an effect from the cause. Students of philosophy should be very careful. This kind of proofs are trying to present an argument for the existence of an effect from the cause. For example, from the existence of fire, we can prove the existence of light. From the existence of fire, yes, we can prove the existence of, yes, light, heat, which are the effect of fire. Okay. But when we come to God, we say such proofs are impossible because, as generally understood, there is no cause for God. Yes, that's the point. Therefore, this is a kind of, for the completion of the argument, we present one. That is called a priori proofs. So, in other words, from the cause to effect, but then anything that is in and around, well, from the effect we are able to go to the cause to effect too. But then regarding God, well, we cannot have such an an argument possible, because we cannot go, yes, behind God and then search for His cause. Therefore, when it comes to God, we say such proofs are impossible, because as generally understood, there is no cause for God. He is not the effect of anything else. Clear? God is not the effect of anything else. Or in other words, there is no cause causing God to exist. Because the a posteriori proves for God's existence, well, we get that type of an argument that is coming when we come to, yes, a posteriori proofs. That's one. Secondly, second one we go a simultaneo for 1, 1, 2. A simultaneo. Proof a simultaneo, simultaneous is simultaneo. The proof a simultaneo, not a simultaneo, could mean that the very concept includes what is to be proved. The very concept includes what is to be proved. For example, when we prove that a triangle has 3 sides by merely analyzing the concept of a triangle. Yes, when you say triangle, yes, has 3 angles. When we say triangle, yes, it is presupposing that it has 3 angles, not 4 or 2, but 3. That's the point. Okay. Here the triangular and the 3 sides are simultaneous. These arguments proceed from the concept to reality, from the ideal to the real, from essence to existence. In these kinds of arguments, we find a false step is made. One is moving from mental order to the real order. That's the point. That's what I said. Well, triangular, 3 angles. So, from a mental order, one is proceeding from moving from mental order to the real order. So, a jump is there from the mental order to the, yes, you can just imagine, the problem is a golden mountain. Yes. Golden mountain, you can imagine, think about it. But then the point is, the golden mountain exists. Now we are moving from the mental order, yes, from the mental order to the real order. Clear? So, golden mountain exists. We say, immediately, well, we will ask, where? Why? Conditions of the possibility of knowledge, transcendental aesthetics, notions of space and time will come. Therefore, there is a jump in a simultaneous proof. There is a jump from the mental order to the real order, which is not correct according to Immanuel Kant, that we have seen already when we saw Immanuel Kant. Okay, so in other words, one is moving here from mental order to the real order, but it is not necessary. It is not necessary that all my concepts have a real existence. That's the thing. Okay, for example, I can have the concept of a golden mountain, but it need not really exist in reality. So, a jump from the mental order to the real order. If you remember Kant's criticism of the a posteriori arguments for God's existence presented by St. Thomas, well, you find this jumping from mental order to the real order is not allowed. Okay, but it's not necessary that all my concepts have a real existence. For example, I can have the concept of a golden mountain, but it need not really exist in reality. During the scholastic period, St. Anselm formulated his ontological argument in a similar manner. It can be easily seen that these arguments do not adequately prove God's existence. So, two arguments we have presented. One is a priori, we said not possible, and then a simultaneo, by the same fact, simultaneously. And then here the problem is that, well, we are not just, we are moving from the mental order to the real order, which cannot be justified. Cannot be justified. Why? Well, you can think about anything, but in the moment you say that really exists, then we will have to show where do they exist in space and time. Therefore, this proof also is not possible. Then we come to the third one, 4, 1, 1, 3, a posteriori proofs. Yes, to my students, I just request you, go through your first year class notes. Scholastic philosophy, take St. Thomas. Follow? Yes, St. Thomas presents 5 proofs for God's existence. Clear? Now, by a posteriori arguments we mean those arguments that are formulated from an experience leading to conclusion. From experience you formulate something, you formulate from experience something, then you draw the conclusion. From experience, you draw conclusion. That is what is called a posteriori. Clear? Please, these are 3 types of arguments. The first one is a priori, second a simultaneo, third is a posteriori. In a posteriori, we have the formal experience of something, and from that experience you draw the conclusion. Well, very important. You have already studied 5 of them, 5 proofs for God's existence. Yes, one is from argument from motion. Second one, argument from efficient or causal argument. Third one, from gradual perfection. Fourth one, gradual perfection. Third one, contingency. Fourth one, gradual perfection. Fifth is teleological argument. In other words, the 5 proofs that was presented by St. Thomas are argument from motion, argument from efficient or causal argument. Third one, argument from contingency to necessity. Fourth one, gradual perfection. Fifth one, argument from teleological argument. So in other words, there are 5 a posteriori proofs. What do you mean by that? Yes, there are experiences, formal experiences of motion, movement, cause, perfection, teleology, and all that is. What is that? There is motion you find. Aristotle's unmoved mover, you remember, no? Yes. Yes, you cannot go on ad infinitum, though you call God as the first mover. In the beginning was the Word, where God was with, say, you go to the first. At the same way, el cause, we find something causing other things to come to existence and all. So you go on searching for the cause. How? We come to the first cause. Clear? Then perfection, grades of perfection you find here on earth. And then you go as the most perfect being. Also, like that. There is also teleology. You find here on earth grades of perfection. and he called God the highest of all perfection. Therefore, these are the 5 arguments which you have seen already in your first year. Step by step we go. Okay, the first argument. So this argument, all right, a posteriori argument, we said, yes, it is a move from the effect to the cause, from God's effect to we go back to God as their cause. These arguments are also called causal arguments. St. Thomas criticized St. Anselm, argued 5 ways as a posteriori arguments for God's existence. That's an introduction. And then the first one, 4, 1, 1, 3. 4, 1, 1, 3. A posteriori. First one, 4, 1, 1, 3, 1. Argument from motion. Yes, as a third year philosophy students, you should look at what you studied from a renewed understanding. In other words, you have already moved 4, 5 semesters ahead. In what you studied in the second semester, you are going to see it in the 5th semester in a better way. Okay, what is the argument from motion? This argument will say that anything that is moved by something else. Ultimately, there must be the first unmoved mover, or else the movement goes on ad infinitum, infinitely. Follow? In an infinite regress, finally. Hence, the need for unmoved mover, which St. Thomas calls God, and the Christian belief calls him God the Creator. Okay. God the Creator. The unmoved mover, yes, that is from motion. Okay. 4, 1, 1, 3, 1. This is from motion. Yes. You find unmoved mover, or the mover who moves but not moved. He goes on moving everything, but he doesn't move. So that is the argument from motion. Second one, argument from efficient cause. Yes, argument from efficient cause. Causing, you remember Descartes, causal argument. What was the Descartes' causal argument? Yes. I have an idea of a perfect being in my mind. I have an idea of a perfect being in my mind. Being imperfect that I am, I cannot be the cause of causal argument. I cannot be the cause of this most perfect being. Therefore, yes, God Himself. So, motion, cause. That is what is. This argument will say that anything that is moved is, no, a thing cannot be caused by itself. Yes, that is causal argument. A thing cannot be caused by itself. Whatever is caused by something else, and we cannot go on ad infinitum. Well, remember, even for motion, even for cause, ad infinitum will come. If you say, I am being moved by, and then that is being moved by something else. So, ad infinitum, in order to avoid that the motion ad infinitum, cause ad infinitum, we put God as the first unmoved mover. He doesn't move, but He is on moving. Here, He is the first cause, and there is no other cause causing Him for His existence, or Him for His existence. All right. Ad infinitum, Yes, a thing cannot be caused by itself. Whatever is caused by something else, and we cannot go on ad infinitum through subordinate causes and effects. Hence, the need for the first cause, and the first cause is God. And now the third argument. What is that? Argument from contingent to necessity. Contingent to necessity. Yes, we find things coming into existence and pass out of. So, in other words, therefore, there should be a necessary contingency. I don't have to explain, these things have been. So, therefore, God is a necessary. If everything is contingent, it will go ad infinitum. Therefore, there must exist a necessary being that is not subject to change. Clear? So, motion, cause effect, and then change. And now 4, 1, 1, 3, 4 will be. Okay, we'll just read it out also. Argument of contingency. The third way of St. Thomas starts from contingent being, which may not exist, may or may not exist. Clear, no? Okay. But this contingent being needed something necessary from which it is made or grounded. Okay. That is to say, various contingent beings lead to the absolutely necessary being. Clear? Fourth one, gradual perfection. Okay. Gradual perfection. We find here on earth perfection and beauty, and the most beautiful. Yes, that is not subject to change, but then that is the cause of everything. So, perfection. That is the fourth one. We see in the world that the things in the world are in a more or less perfect manner. And this could mean that we could not go on indefinitely from one thing of perfection to another. Hence, there is a need for a being of all perfection in its fullness, and that fullness we call God. That is called, yes, a posteriori. From our experience, we find there is motion, there should be an unmoved mover. There is cause, causing something to existence, there must be first cause. There is contingency, means change and decay, therefore a necessary being. And that's what we said. Yes, we from the mental order, we proceed to an real order. So you find, yes, and then perfection, yes, the most perfect. And then 4, 1, 1, 3, 5. What is that? Yes, that is the last argument. It's a very important argument, namely argument for purpose or teleology is your first year notion, first year philosophy. There is purpose we find in everything. Yes, therefore God is the final cause of everything. That is the fourth argument. We find the word in the world some kind of purposiveness and finality or finality, and this presupposes an intelligent being which is assuming this finality, clear, order, assuming this finality, order, and that is God. Follow. So that is, you take, want to elaborate, those who want to elaborate, you take your first year arguments. But then we are recapping it. So in other words, argument from motion, argument from cause, argument from contingency, argument from perfection, argument from purpose in the universe. These are all that we experience in here on earth, in and around. Therefore, we search for an, yes, unmoved mover. We search for the first cause. We search for, among the contingent things, a necessary being. We search for the most perfect God. We search for the final purpose of everything. Clear? And now we are going to just sum up all these proofs and present some characteristics. These 5 proofs in the first place have an epistemological character. Underline. These 5 proofs, if you analyze all the proofs, we find, yes, they have something in common. They have an epistemological character. Why? Yes, motion, cause, contingency, perfection, teleology or purpose, all that we experience in life. Clear? This is to say, there is a process involving knowing the subject. There is the subject-object polarity. So, and then the second one, they are based on certain presuppositions. For example, they do not accept infinite regress. In order to avoid infinite regress, otherwise motion will continue ad infinitum. Cause, A is the cause of B, B is the cause of, yes. And then contingency, it goes on. To avoid infinite regress, we draw a conclusion. That's the thing. In other words, they do not accept infinite regress. They presuppose an intelligent explanation, necessarily should avoid infinite regress. It's only an analysis of that. They presuppose an intelligent explanation, necessary and should avoid infinite regress. In all these attempts of proving God's existence, we find the problem is we are mixing up the real order. Yes, that's what mixing up real order with mental order. This must not have been told to you when you are studying in your first year. This is a critical evaluation. So, mixing up real order. What is that real order? Yes, motion, cause, contingency, perfection, purpose and all. You find. But then you are searching, mixing it with a mental order. Yes, what is that one? You say, therefore there must exist. Follow? That's a problem. So, necessarily should avoid infinity. So, in all these attempts of proving God's existence, we find a mixing up of the real order and the mental order. Hence, these attempts do not really scientifically and logically convince the other. Okay. So, mixing up of the real order and the mental order. And now, for you, as a kind of criticism, well, that will be 4, yes, proofs. 2, you can put Kantian criticism. What did I do when I taught you Kant? Yes, we presented when we came to epistemology, and then we moved on to ethics, and then there we said, well, theoretical knowledge of God is not possible, only practical knowledge. Clear? And then while attacking theoretical knowledge, we also went through the various proofs, Kant's criticism. Various proofs for God's existence are indefinite. They are then reduced to 5 by St. Thomas, and they can be reduced to 3, namely causal argument, ontological argument, and then teleological argument. All the number of arguments have been reduced by St. Thomas into 5. Yes, can't reduce them to 3, and those 3 into 1, namely, yes, the teleological argument. What is that? Yes, from idea of perfection. That's a purpose. Well, he said, more or less, last sentences I am mixing up a real order. Therefore, you can write as 4 to Kantian criticism, 4, 3, Heideggerian criticism. These are all homework for you. Why? Yes, you are studying Heidegger. You have already studied Kant. Therefore, the notes, you take it with you and then apply it. So this is a section that's wonderful. And then we move on to phenomenological understanding of it. Clear? Yes, phenomenological approach, that is the contemporary approach. phenomenological approach. Therefore, yes, approaches to God, yes, proofs for God's existence. Kinds of proofs are three, namely a priori proofs, a simultaneo, a posteriori proofs. A posteriori proofs are five, yes, mainly based on St. Thomas, namely argument from motion, argument from cause, effect, argument from contingency to necessity, arguments from perfection, arguments from purpose, teleology. Follow. And we said what is the problem here is there is a mixing up of the real order and the mental order, which is not, according to Kant, justified. Therefore, Kantian criticism you can put as 4.2 and 4.3 as Heideggerian criticism. You will understand. I don't have to again feed you with the same thoughts that's being exposed by different person. Okay, so this is all approaches to God. This becomes another very important section, approaches to God, and of which partly you have seen in your first year, partly you have, when we are taking up Kantian criticism, you have seen it in the second year and also in Heidegger in third year. Therefore, this is a section is also to brush up. Yes, you bring in all the 3 years of what you have studied. So wish you everything best. So as a homework, take please example. This is a Kantian criticism. Of course, existence proofs for existence. Beautifully I had presented, clear? Yes. And then, and his proofs for God's existence also. There is one proof from the practical point of view, clear? That is in connection with the moral law. Why should I be moral? Yes. In other words, there must exist a God who will apportion happiness in proportion to the way you had been faithful to moral law. So that is, yes, that also you can add into, no problem. Then Heideggerian criticism. Yes, don't elaborate it, but then bring in. This is something at section. And then tomorrow onwards we can take up phenomenological approach to God. Thank you very much. Very good.